This is the final press conference for Paul versus Woodley 2.
I took this 8-week real serious, and I'm going to show the world that I got boxing skills.
I think there's a stigmatism about, basketball players, being a little soft. I'm taking this camp very seriously, and you're going to see that on Saturday.
Well, this fight is very important. Miriam is a tough fighter, and she's strong, so I have to test my power once again.
So it's funny how these professionals breaks a rib and doesn't want to fight, and then they're like, oh, you got Tyron Woodley now, that's why I got the ski mask on. They're going to give me a big bag to go and beat the guy I already beat. This is a bank robbery.
Saturday, my goal and my mission is clear. You got to respect power. And I'm not going to sit up here and act like he don't have power. He does have power, and I have power. That's why you guys want to watch this fight again.
Everyone can tune the fucking Showtime.com/pay-per-view. Fucking be there. Otherwise, you're missing out on one of the greatest fights ever.
Here we go, folks.
The white sand beaches in that Gulf air of Tampa, Florida, the backdrop for repeat or maybe revenge comes Saturday night when Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley meet on Showtime pay-per-view for the second time. But you best believe both fighters have let it be known this week they are coming to leave no doubt. And no doubt about it, I am Brian Campbell. This is Luke Thomas, the co-host of the award-winning Showtime digital sports series Morning Combat, here for you, handling weigh-in coverage. Just one more sleep, as the great John Anik would say, out from Saturday night's pay-per-view. Jake Paul, your YouTube connoisseur extraordinaire, influencer, and also unbeaten pugilist, against Luke, the former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley. Not the fight we thought, but we've had in this rivalry so far a split decision, a disputed knockdown, a tattooed middle finger, and I think even Tommy fumbled. Luke, how different are the stakes, the attitudes from where we were August 29th entering this rematch?
Pretty significant. With the Tommy Fury fight, if that had gone to fruition, you could say what you want about whether or not Tommy is a more difficult fight for Jake Paul or not, but he was at least somebody who came strictly from boxing, somebody who only had a boxing background. And no, he is not as proven as his half-brother Tyson Fury, but he resembled something of a new-ish frontier for Jake Paul. Well, this is not that. This is a return, as BC indicated, to old business, to all of the old rivalries, and settling some of the questions that were raised the first time around. But BC, you know as well as I do, they can't resort to the same old game plan from before. If there is one thing that we have picked up on during the course of this week, it's that both recognize that some of this feels the same. In fact, Brian, you might agree that both of them seem a little bit tired of doing the media. What more could they possibly say to one another? But they both seem to be relishing the fact they get one more crack at the other guy, and they both affirmatively believe this time will be very different than the last.
Our Showtime colleagues Ariel Helwani and the classy one Jimmy Lennon Jr. to join us shortly as the fighters will take the scales for the last time, go face-to-face, provide the final interviews. Of course, this 192-pound, 8-round catchweight bout, a pro bout. Official weigh-ins were this morning. They both came in under the 192-pound limit. The ceremonial ones will take place just behind us. The first time around August 29th in Cleveland, the backyard of Jake Paul. But as you mentioned, Luke, now we're in more of a neutral site here in Tampa. Right now we're at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino just down the road at Amalie Arenas, where the fights will go down Saturday night. But still the same stakes, though, to a larger degree. There's a bubble here in this celebrity crossover window. We've seen ex-fighters come back. We're going to see Frank Gore and Deron Williams, all-stars in other sports, come together. Jake Paul's still the face of this balloon, though, as we get closer to this.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, Deron Williams had a decorated career. Frank Gore, both of them had extremely decorated careers in their own right. In fact, Brian and I were talking. Folks don't realize this. Frank Gore is only behind Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton in terms of all-time leading NFL rushers. It is a shocking level of who your peers are when you really begin to think about it. And there is interest in seeing them compete. Both of us want to see exactly what's going to happen when those guys lock horns. But you're right. The driving bus of this whole operation is pretty clearly Jake Paul. Now, he's got a lot more work than the rest of the crew because he, of course, is with MVP, his own promotional company. They have to do a ton of stuff during fight week, so he's being pulled in a lot of different directions. But you're right, when we were thought we were turning the page to Tommy Fury. It was something different, but we're back in a lot of similar ways.
Yeah, Frank Gore and Darren Williams are going to kick off the pay-per-view. Of course, it's Woodley and Paul a second time. And let's go up to the stage to our Showtime colleagues. I believe DJ Nasty in the building as well, as these fighters face-to-face for the final time.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino here in Tampa, Florida for our weigh-in for our big night of action coming your way, taking place tomorrow night at the Amalie Arena here in Tampa, and it's all brought to you by Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions along with Showtime in association with Holden Productions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. We have 7 fights scheduled tomorrow. Our first fight starts at 7:15 p.m. with the doors opening a little bit before that. We're going to bring out our fighters right now as we weigh in our opening attraction tomorrow night at our fights at the Amalie Arena. First, ladies and gentlemen, junior middleweights 4 rounds attraction from Charlottesville, Virginia, with a record of 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, with 4 wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome to the scale, Chris Rollins. Chris Rollins weighs in at 149.4 pounds, 149.4. And now his opponent from Orlando, Florida, undefeated in his campaign to the ring. His record 5 wins, no losses, 2 wins coming by way of knockout. Introducing Giovanni Estella. Giovanni Estella weighs in at 149.6 pounds, 149.6. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. It opens up our attraction tomorrow night. Junior middleweights, 4 rounds of boxing. Giovanni Estella, Chris Rollins. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with our next attraction. Super middleweights, 8 rounds of action from Stockton, California. In his second professional bout, please welcome Chris Avila.
Oh, there it is.
166.4 pounds for Chris Avila, 166.4. And also joined on the stage by UFC champion, MMA star Nate Diaz. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to the scale at this time from Alameda, California. Record is even up, 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 win coming by way of knockout. Here is pretty boy Anthony Taylor.
I'm leaving right after you guys.
Anthony Taylor weighs in at 167.8 pounds, 167.8 pounds. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. Super middleweights, 8 rounds of action. Anthony Taylor versus Chris Avila. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, we're going to begin a weigh-in for our pay-per-view, opening pay-per-view action. Before we do that, my pleasure to introduce to you the center stage, the co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, Nakisa Bedarian. Well, fans, from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino here in Tampa, Florida, we present the weigh-in for our opening pay-per-view attraction. It's a battle of two world-ranked, undefeated junior welterweight world title ranked fighters. 10 rounds of action scheduled, once again brought to you by Most Valuable Promotions and Showtime in association with Holden Production, sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, introducing first from Aguas Buenas, Puerto Rico. His record 20 wins, no losses, 1 draw, with 12 wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked the WBO number 8 junior welterweight in the world. Here is Jomar, the Magic Alamo. Jomar Alamo weighs in at 139 pounds, 139. And his opponent at this time from Brisbane, Australia. His record 21 wins, no losses, 13 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the WBO number 3 ranked junior welterweight in the world, the undefeated Liam Paro.
Yes, the global title champion. Okay. Yes.
And onto the scale at this time, here is the WBO Global Defending Champion, Liam Paro. 139.5 pounds, 139.5 pounds for the undefeated Liam Paro. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen. Liam Paro versus Jomar Alamo, the Magic. Junior welterweights, 10 rounds of action opens up our pay-per-view tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Jomar, thank you very much for the time. I'm being joined by Jomar now. Jomar, this is a massive opportunity for both you and Liam. The consensus seems to be that he has never fought anyone as tough as you. Do you agree with that? And if so, why?
Esta es una gran oportunidad para vos, ¿no? Y además el consenso parece ser que él nunca ha peleado contra alguien como tú. ¿Qué opinas sobre eso y crees que eso es verdad?
Pues mira, entendemos que él no ha peleado con boxeadores de calibre, entendemos que nosotros tenemos, ¿verdad?, el calibre ya en nuestro récord y estamos listos. Aquí lo importante es venir preparados, lo estamos, vamos a dar lo mejor de nosotros y ese título va para Puerto Rico.
We do understand that, he hasn't ever fought someone of our caliber, and we have prepared ourselves to be at our best level, and we are ready to put on a great fight, and this title is coming back to Puerto Rico.
Gracias. Good luck tomorrow. We'll talk to Liam now. Liam, it's been a crazy month for Australian combat sports, right? We just saw George Kambosos pick up a massive win. What kind of motivation did you take from seeing your countrymate pull off a win like that heading into this huge opportunity for you?
Mate, it was massive, and I'm going to follow right in his footsteps and put on a good performance myself.
Looking forward to it, my friend. Good luck to you. Liam Power, everyone, making his United States debut tomorrow night.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to move along. Our next fight, we're going to weigh in cruiserweight, scheduled 8 rounds of action. First from Marietta, Kansas, 22 knockouts in his 28 wins. Please welcome to the scale, Marcus Oliveira. And Marcos Oliveira weighs in at 198.6 pounds, 198.6. And his opponent we invite right now, fighting out of Las Vegas by way of Michigan, the former super middleweight world contender, J. Leon Love.
On there. Yeah. Usted trabaja por Showtime. For real? What's your IG, bro? What's your Instagram?
J. Leon Love weighs in at 197 pounds, 197. And there they are, 8 rounds of boxing cruiserweights. J. Leon Love versus the knockout-minded Marcus Oliveira. Well, fans, we're ready to bring off our fighters. We continue our weigh-in with a heavyweight special attraction, former NBA All-Star guard versus the former NFL Pro Bowl running back. Weight limit on this fight is 215 pounds, 4 rounds scheduled. First, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be stepping into the boxing ring for the first time. The football great, superstar running back, 5-time NFL Pro Bowler, introducing Frank Gore.
Yeah, I'm with the other guy. He'll be out the man, not his fighter. Woodley. Yeah.
Frank Gore weighs in at 209 and 1/2 pounds, 209 and 1/2 pounds. And now his opponent also stepping into the boxing ring for the very first time, the basketball great, 2-time gold medalist, 3-time NBA All-Star, introducing Darren Williams. Darren Williams weighs in at 211 and 1/4 pounds, 211 and 1/4 pounds. And right in between them, the co-founder of MVP Promotions, Nakisa Badarian. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, a heavyweight special attraction, Darren Williams versus Frank Gore.
All right, I'll talk to Frank here for a quick second. Just one last question for you, Frank. I know you're tired of talking. You have competed on many a big stage. We're looking right over here. What excites you most about the opportunity in front of you on Saturday?
I see all my fans here. I trained my ass off 8 weeks. I see my team Sweatbox in the building. I'm ready to go, baby.
Can't wait. There he is, guys. Show some love for Frank Gore. Now show some love to Darren Williams. You're making your debut tomorrow. Could you tell us, what kind of a fighter are you? Who would you compare yourself to?
I don't know. I don't really have anybody to compare myself to, you know, different style. I'm just looking forward to all this stuff being over and being able to fight now. Put in the work, and that's all I can do.
Can't wait for it, my man. Thank you so much. Good luck to you. Show some love to Darren Williams, everyone.
All right, fans, here we go from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino here in Tampa. We continue with our weigh-in. This time we present our co-main event of the evening, a women's lightweight special attraction scheduled for 10 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first, joining us from Madrid, Spain. Her record 14-1 with 5 knockouts, making her U.S. debut. Please welcome the former European and WBA title holder, introducing Miriam Gutierrez.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
Miriam Gutierrez weighs in at 133.5 pounds, 133.5 pounds. And now her opponent, ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of Brooklyn by way of Puerto Rico with a record of 41 wins. Only 1 defeat and 1 draw with 30 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the 7-division world champion, the current WBC, WBO, and IBO featherweight world champion, the real deal, Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano weighs in at 133.75 pounds, 133.75 pounds for the real deal, Amanda Serrano. That's our co-main event of the evening, women's lightweight special attraction, the real deal, Amanda Serrano versus Miriam Gutierrez.
All right, we'll have a quick word here with Miriam Gutierrez. Miriam, thank you for the time. A lot of the talk leading up to this fight has been about her potential next opponent. Do you think she is perhaps looking past you on Saturday night?
Se ha hablado mucho de lo que es la próxima potencial oponente de Amanda Serrano para esta pelea. ¿Te sentís subestimada de cara a este reto?
No, porque han sido aclaraciones luego llegadas, o sea que esta pelea se va a dar y voy a disfrutarla como tal.
No, everything has been clarified. I don't feel underestimated at all. We're going to enjoy this fight. It's going to be a great night for everybody.
Thank you very much. Gracias. Good luck to you on Saturday night. Miriam Gutierrez, everyone. We'll say hello now to one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. Moving up to 135. Show some love to Puerto Rico's, New York's Amanda Serrano. Massive opportunity for her, the newest member of MVP. What do you say to all those people who continue to say, Amanda, you're looking past Miriam, you're not giving her the proper credit? What do you say to all those naysayers?
Well, you'll see Saturday night. I've never looked past any of my opponents. You just never know. And come Saturday night, you're going to see. It's going to be a great war.
And I'll wait for it. She's one of the best fighters on the planet, regardless of gender. Show some love for Amanda Serrano, everyone. Good luck to you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we bring out our fighters for the main event of the evening, a special guest we want to introduce to the stage at this time. Please welcome the one and only media sensation, Logan Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tampa, Florida, we present the weigh-in for the main event of the evening. Cruiserweight featured bout, scheduled 8 rounds of boxing, leave no doubt, brought to you by Most Valuable Promotions and Showtime in association with Holden Productions, sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome at this time from St. Louis, Missouri, looking to avenge his loss, the hard-hitting MMA star and former UFC welterweight champion of the world, the chosen one, Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley weighs in at 189 1/2 pounds. 189 1/2 pounds. And now, ladies and gentlemen, now fighting out of Puerto Rico by way of Cleveland, Ohio. Undefeated at 4 wins, no losses, 3 wins coming by way of knockout. The renowned content creator, media sensation, undefeated fighter, the problem child, Jake Paul. The problem child weighs in at 191 1/2 pounds, 191 1/2 pounds for Jake Paul. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen. Co-founder MVP Promotions, Nikisa Badarian, is between them. It's the main event of the evening. Cruiserweights, 8 rounds of boxing. The problem child, Jake Paul, versus the chosen one, Tyron Woodley. It's live from the Amalie Arena on Showtime pay-per-view. Available on traditional cable and satellite services, streaming live on Showtime app. Don't miss it tomorrow night, the main event of the evening, cruiserweight featured attraction, and our full night of pay-per-view boxing.
We'll have a quick word with Tyron Woodley here. Former UFC welterweight champion, getting a chance to right the wrong from this past August. Tyron, what did you say to Jake up there just moments ago?
Tomorrow won't be a short night. It's going to be a long night. But nobody going to second guess you after tomorrow night. Thank you for bringing the dog out of me. Tomorrow we battle. Eat well, rest well. It's going to be a fucking fight tomorrow night.
Give it up for the chosen one, Tyron Woodley. Good luck to you, Tyron. And a quick word with the problem child, the undefeated Jake Paul.
Pose up together, guys.
All right. An impromptu pose right here. They fought for the first time back in August in Cleveland. They run it back tomorrow at the Amalie Arena, sold out here in Tampa. Jake, what did you say to Tyron up there?
I said it's fucking go mode. A different Jake Paul you're going to see this time. We're fucking bucking in the middle of the ring. No funny shit. No funny shit like last time. I'm fucking him up. I'm fucking him up. I'm fucking him up, Ariel. I'm fucking him up.
I believe he is going to F up Tyron Woodley. That's what he just said, Jake. Good luck to you. Thank you for the time. Can't wait for it. There he is, Jake Paul, the problem child, everyone. Show some love for the undefeated Jake Paul.
The stage is set here in Tampa. Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul, the rematch. They made weight. We're ready for this 192-pound catchweight, cruiserweight bout, a rematch. Brian Campbell, Luke Thomas, back with you here at the Seminole Hard Rock Resort and Casino. Luke, it's going to go down Saturday night. Amalie Arena may be sold out in the arena, but you can go right now to showtime.com/PPV. Order the pay-per-view now. Get ahead of it. You can order the traditional way, satellite, cable. You can download the Showtime app. If you're outside of the U.S., go to fight.tv. Luke, as it pertains to the rematch, the first fight had intensity all week, and then it turned into a little bit of a boxing match when they met on August 29th. Did you feel like some of that intensity was back today?
A little bit of that intensity. That was nice from Jake Paul. I got to say, listen, we both thought on our podcast this morning, Morning Combat, that there was actually going to be pushing and shoving as a way to sell this fight. Because remember, Tyron Woodley is coming in on 2 weeks' notice, even though they have obviously a fight before this. So we thought there was going to be some dramatic flair from both sides to get this sold. So you could argue, if you wanted to, that Jake Paul was doing the pushing and the shoving as a way to sell, well, I should say the gesticulating and the shouting as a way to sell the pay-per-view. I actually tend to think there probably is, of course, some of that. But I think there's more than that. I really do think Jake recognizes, not just based on his emotional state on stage, what things he said all week, he realizes it's time to put the stamp on this. You can't go out there and just do the same thing you did before. Even though he won the first time, you got to go out there and impress. You got to try harder. Yeah. You got to show more. We'll see if he does.
They may have been gesticulating, Merriam-Webster, but it was testicularly fueled because, as you articulated, Luke, both, if we can look at one of the key narratives, is both felt like they left a little bit on the table in the first fight. It was a grudge match. They sold the crap out of it. There was intensity and drama, particularly in that fourth round near knockdown when Tyron Woodley landed the big left hand, but both failed to take advantage and maybe go for the finish when the opening was there. It ended in an 8-round split decision, a close one for Jake Paul. but enough unfinished business to where when Tyron Woodley was called on less than 2 weeks' notice, this fight made sense. We argued it may actually be an upgrade to some degree from the danger level of what Tommy Fury brought. Now, they know each other very well. Luke, as we enter this matchup a second time and look at the X's and O's, does it come down to the final question that Ariel Helwani had with Tyron Woodley? Does it come down to the idea that for this fight to be what it could be, for this opportunity to be what it could be for either fighter, they got to throw punches and let their hands go and truly, true to the disclaimer of this fight, leave no doubt?
I'm a little bit skeptical that it's going to be a wild brawl. But I do think, probably from either side, you might see some strategic spots where they really begin to pour it on a little bit more than last time. Dude, Jake, at the end of the day, this was a crowd sympathetic to him. I think we would both agree with that. He's a showman. Okay, we know he can promote. We saw what he did the first time. We saw what he's doing this time. Even now, still taunting Tommy Fury, even though he's across the ocean on the other side of the planet for right now. And nevertheless, though, that's not enough. There's got to be a little bit more in the ring. And, of course, there has been in a couple of these encounters. But, he's stepping up facing a former UFC champion here. You got to do a little bit more than like, hey, I won enough rounds arithmetically to win. You got to give people entertaining memories that they hold on to. And of the kind, if you're Jake Paul, that they're going to want to pay more for them to see it again.
I think you can argue who has more pressure on them. We've argued all week that it could be either side.
Can we mention one thing before we move on to that?
Why don't you just take over? Go ahead.
I just want to bring up, before we move on from it, before I forget even, did it not look to you had Woodley weighing in at 189, so he had the 3-pound allowance he didn't even need. Jake Paul made the weight, he looked fine, but he looked a little bit sucked out, which tells me there actually might be more of a size disparity the second time than the first by virtue of what kind of physical preparation you were getting.
And that size disparity did play a factor. Jake's the bigger, longer fighter. He's 15 years younger, still just 24 years old. That's going to be a key factor. Maybe he worked a little extra harder, which we expect from him after how close that first fight was. Maybe that played into his body looking like, he had to work a little bit to make that weight, but he made it and he's ready. So, Luke, as it pertains to the rematch, I think the pressure could be on either one. I think the advantage in this being a short notice situation might probably lean Tyron.
Slightly,
depending on what kind of shape he was in. He said he was filming a TV show. You saw him up there. He looked physically like he had been in the gym. Maybe not fight preparation, but he had been in the gym consistently looking for other boxing fights heading into 2022. Well, we're going to see it go down a second time here. So, do the advantages that enter the first fight, when you look at your perceived X's and O's and just the size and the age, do the advantages still overwhelmingly fall on Jake's side heading in here, or do you think that Woodley did enough in that first fight to close the gap in some of those areas?
Both of them are going to be such novices in boxing that things are going to be identifiable on paper that you could easily pick up on from either side. Tyron Woodley doing a lot of forward and backward pressure without much throwing, a lot of hand covering up to his face.
More responsible defense than I would have given credit for coming in.
More responsible, but it made him actually open to the body shot from Jake. So there's a lot of ways that Jake could pull up on that. But by contrast, to your point, Jake Paul can't create offense, at least he didn't in the first fight, moving to his right. He can only create offense going straight and then moving off of his jab to the left. There's actually none as he moves right. If I'm Tyron Woodley and I'm his team, I'm going to see if we can't corral him in that direction to see what it does to his ability to throw. So to your point, like, either guy has a lot of room to correct. But if you're asking what we saw the first time and to what extent there might have been a difference in their boxing ability, Jake Paul looked to me to be the much more complete boxer of the two, even if we recognize Tyron is much more of an established combat sports champion and entity.
Well, that's the key
than Jake can be.
And how you want to execute the handicap of the rematch. Jake, the betting favorite coming in the first time. He is again after winning a close first fight. It's hard to overlook that age and size advantage. Woodley fought at 170 in the UFC. He'll be fighting here, just under 190 pounds. I think, though, we learned that look, Jake's a legitimate boxer. Love him or hate him, he's not ready for a top 10 ranked guy in the world, but he's not your traditional celebrity novice.
Well, hold on. He's not ready for a top 25 or top 50.
But you got to give him the credit that he can handle himself. What I mean is his style doesn't set up. It's not so lacking that he leaves the door open for big mistakes. He is actually very responsible in how he carries himself in there. I think the biggest exposure, if there was one, was the second he tasted Tyron Woodley's real power in the fourth round.
When he got stationary, he got into problems. When he was moving, he was
circle
okay.
away.
Yep.
He started to look more like somebody trying to win a decision, survive, and go there.
That's right.
We'll see if that intensity changes for him and for Woodley. while he may not have the size, youth, or even the traditional core boxing experience, and again, I want to echo this, Jake Paul, he can jab, he can put punches together. He's not, he's good in terms of foundational level. Woodley's got the much deeper experience on a fighting level, on taking damage and giving it back. Luke, we didn't really see that the first time. We saw Woodley handing out damage in little short circles, but he never looked hurt to me. He never looked exhausted to me. I think some of it was maybe a strategic miscalculation in his own gas tank that led him to not really throw enough to leave no doubt on the cards. But do you agree that Tyron Woodley, we all agree he's got to throw more, but do you agree he should be looking for the knockout here? Or is this just the type of fight that with a little bit of change, he could easily come away with a decision?
I would honestly say that if you can get a guy like Tyron Woodley to throw more, you're going to create problems because his power is going to be significant enough that if he makes reasonable contact over a reasonable amount of time, it's going to score in a visible, noteworthy, and important way and could lead to other types of finishes. I think certainly that is something to pay attention to. But again, I want to just sort of go back to it and reiterate a point here. Either guy, you're right, they've got some things they do well here, but what's kind of funny about this fight is that both are so open to potential counters that a more seasoned boxer would see. You actually don't know when the bottom's going to drop out. There could be a little bit more intensity, yes, but that could lead to a much more chaotic affair. One thing we haven't discussed that I do think is worth pointing out is Jake might want to prepare for a world where Tyron is reserved with his defense, because he, by the way, may have not trained fully for this, given some of the late notice parts. He hasn't been throwing a lot anyway. He didn't throw in the last one. And Jake will actually be tasked with creating openings. Yes. That's going to be something that might actually really be a part of what he has to do to get the win here. So we keep saying, like, oh, Jake might show more intensity. But what if Tyron doesn't and he shows more defensive attitude? That's entirely possible. Now what are you going to do? Tyron is stingy with his defense. Another thing to think about.
Tyron Woodley will have that reach disadvantage. He landed just 7 jabs the first fight, just 3 body shots, and was overall landed to a clear percentage with Jake getting the advantages and all those numbers. We need more action from Woodley. But to your point about, maybe he does stand more to be the counterpuncher and look for his big moment. It's not easy for him to get inside against that reach. Jake does have a very good jab at this level. Just 4 pro fights in. So if you're Woodley, you're going to have to get inside, but you do have to pick your moments. When you get inside, that's when you're going to have to let your hands go. I don't know if his strategy should be to try to win 8 rounds or win more rounds than Jake, or if his strategy is when you have him cornered, when you're ready to let that counter shot go, that's when it can't be 1 punch. It's got to be 4 or 5. You've got to get him hurt and try to get him out of there, because you weren't, nothing's guaranteed in this life. Nope. Forget about the boxing game. This was a holiday gift to Tyron and his family financially for this to fall in his lap. I don't care what anybody says. How can you look in the mirror for a second time around if you haven't given your best foot forward? You hope, for Tyron's case, for the entertainment value, for his legacy, that he does that, because this is a winnable fight if he puts himself in the right place. And I think that the same sort of unknown entities of who would win coming in the first one, it's still kind of here the second one, Luke, because it's going to be who makes the better adjustment at the end of the day.
I really have to agree. I think this is a winnable fight in either direction. I would favor Jake Paul based on what we've seen in the first fight and based on what we know about the preparation. I think it's probably the smarter play. But it is also true that if you think Tyron Woodley can't win this, you are probably in for a rude awakening. It is absolutely, utterly winnable from either guy, which tells us that the person who does win this, especially if it comes in emphatic fashion, I hate to boil it down to this, but sometimes it is true, who wants it more, who really decided that they were going to court risk, work on the things they needed to work on, have a good game plan, and just say, you know what, sometimes you got to bite down on the mouthpiece to make magic happen.
Yeah.
We're going to see tomorrow.
I think we know who might be the better boxer. We don't know who's the better fighter, who has the bigger dog inside when it gets down to it. That's where it could come back into Tyron's favor. When does this go down? Of course, Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Showtime pay-per-view. Go to Showtime.com/PPV right now. You can order it in advance. So many ways to order it. But, Luke, as you look up and down this card, and there's no shortage of crossover from the MMA world, the pro team sports world, Nate Diaz is here. The celebrity crossover world. Outside of Woodley and Paul, who are we talking about on Sunday morning from this undercard?
For sure, I think Amanda Serrano's going to shine. That's a big part of it. But if you're asking me, I think where some of the other eyeballs might be, it's going to be on the basketball versus football fight about Darren Williams taking on Frank Gore. Frank Gore looked to be in fantastic shape, all business, but a very smaller, from a frame standpoint, kind of athlete than Darren Williams, who also appeared to be, by the way, in great shape, and of course is the co-owner of a very established and important MMA gym, Fortis MMA, out of Dallas, Texas, in the Fort Worth area. It's really hard, and I would say actually impossible to say who's going to win. We just don't know enough about either athlete in this context. But I got to say, we're talking about two of the best type of athletes, the elite NBA player, the elite football player, and when they mix it up, it could be a lot of fun. 4-round, it's an exhibition now, but there will be judges. It should feel like a normal-ish kind of fight, and I guess we'll see.
You know, it's probably going to look a lot like when we saw Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, number 85, go in there on the last, or actually on the Logan Paul Mayweather undercard of Miami.
But in the same great state of Florida.
Took on Brian Maxwell, came away. I don't think there was a winner that night, but Chad was the winner. He got up off the canvas.
That's right.
There's the Nate Robinson way of looking at how it could go right or wrong.
That's right.
There's the Chad
Absolutely.
Johnson way he battled through. We're going to find out with those two, as you mentioned as well. Maybe the pound-for-pound queen of this game, Amanda Serrano, will be in that co-main event against former lightweight champion Miriam Gutierrez. Will Amanda Serrano be aiming toward that Katie Taylor super fight next year? She's got to win this one first or that conversation's over.
No doubt about it. So certainly Miriam Gutierrez is a worthy opponent. She is a good adversary. Probably not on the level of Amanda Serrano. I don't think that's very controversial to say, but stranger things have happened, so she has to get it done. And if she does, I can't wait to talk some Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano fight.
Gutierrez's only pro defeat came in 2020 when she lost her title to the current undisputed lightweight champion, Katie Taylor. So much to talk about, and we have all week. But if you're looking for immediate reaction following Saturday's pay-per-view on Showtime pay-per-view, that's where we come in. Brian Campbell, Luke Thomas of Morning Combat. You can check us out at youtube.com/Morning Combat. Yes, we are in your face Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. Brought to you by Showtime and CBS Sports, but we'll be hitting you up post-fight, immediate, instant reaction here from Tampa,
post-fight show.
Florida. Post-fight show, whatever you want to call it. Luke, it's been a heck of a week here in Tampa. Any closing thoughts as the Jake Paul Express continues on with a familiar foe?
We were here in Miami, as you mentioned, for the Logan Paul and Mayweather fight. We were in Cleveland for the first Woodley and Paul fight, Paul Woodley, whatever. I got to say, I'm ready for someone in a main event context with some of this YouTube boxing stuff with a real athlete in front of them. I'm waiting for someone to really step on the gas. You got your first chance. There's no other choice at this point but to up the intensity. How they do it and who's going to do it the best, I don't know. But I am very much looking forward to seeing a much more concerted effort in that main event.
Yeah, Jake Paul has been an instigator. He's been a disruptor in this boxing pay-per-view game. He's also given opportunities to a lot of fighters. We'll see if he can pass another difficult test. It, of course, goes down Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Showtime pay-per-view, showtime.com/PPV. Order it right now. Well, for Luke Thomas, I am Brian Campbell. We are the hosts of Morning Combat. Thank you for tuning in. For our colleagues, Ariel Helwani and Jimmy Lennon Jr., we bid you adieu. Enjoy the fights from Saturday night on Tampa, where Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley plan to leave no doubt. See ya.
This is the final press conference for Paul versus Woodley 2.
I took this 8-week real serious, and I'm going to show the world that I got boxing skills.
I think there's a stigmatism about, basketball players, being a little soft. I've taken this camp very seriously, and you're going to see that on Saturday.
Well, this fight is very important. Miriam is a tough fighter, and she's strong, so I have to test my power once again.
So it's funny how these professionals breaks a rib and doesn't want to fight, and then they're like, oh, you got Tyron Woodley now, that's why I got the ski mask on. They're going to give me a big bag to go and beat the guy I already beat. This is a bank robbery.
Saturday, my goal and my mission is clear. You got to respect power, and I'm not going to sit up here and act like he don't have power. He does have power, and I have power. That's why you guys want to watch this fight again.
Everyone can tune the fucking Showtime.com/pay-per-view. Fucking be there. Otherwise, you're missing out on one of the greatest fights ever.
Here we go, folks.